Steam has been crushed. Gamers, they cry. We want to play gross games, wonder why. Because we are all degenerates, but that is our own. And if you don't like it, well, then you should go home and leave us alone. Today, we're going to do a little bit of a reaction video. We're going to call this segment Rap Reacts. We're going to watch this video by Water CS2. It goes over the Visa Valve controversy, right? They're banning a bunch of corn games from existing on Steam by restricting the payment. So we're going to kind of watch that. We'll do a little reaction and then, of course, a rap react. That's what we're all here for. So we're going to jump right in.
Steam, only to find out it's vanished. Not because it's illegal, but because Visa and MasterCard decided you can't buy it.
By the way, that's a great thesis for this video.
Over the last few weeks, tens of thousands
Just
of games have been
Visa's
removed from both
overreach.
Steam and itch.io. And it's all due to pressure from payment processors. This isn't just about a few controversial topics.
Because that's the thing, right? Is the payment processors are flexing their muscle, even though it's not legislated. They're flexing their muscle to get these companies to remove corn games.
From small indie projects to mature but otherwise legal games. It's a new reality where gamers no longer get to decide what they can buy. But gamers aren't just sitting back. There are reports of a mass campaign, Operation Fighting Fire with Fire. Their goal? To bombard MasterCard and Visa with calls and emails, mirroring the tactics used by groups like Collective Shout, who initially targeted Steam. Collective Shout claimed victory with around 1,000 emails, and gamers believe they can collectively shout much, much louder.
I see. MasterCard. So it looks like there was like some group that really pushed this to get this started, right? Some anti-porn group. You can never come between gamers and their porn.
And Visa know, hey,
come on,
these games
Visa.
we want to buy are legal. Let us spend our money. So, as gamers express their frustration, Visa has responded to multiple emails with what appears to be a copy-paste response. I've seen multiple different emails, but they all had the exact same reply. So let's see what Visa has to say about the situation. Thank you for reaching out and sharing your perspective. As a global company, we follow the laws and regulations everywhere we do business.
I think that's part of the problem though, right? Is that they have different laws in different places. And so I think they're looking for like a one size fits all. Let's see what he says. Let's see what he says. I mean, I can see how like you need to have different laws with this stuff in the Middle East than in the West, right? Like obviously the West is a lot more tolerant of corn games. In the Middle East, people could probably get in a lot of trouble.
Sounds fair. Visa says they follow the law. Obviously, if something is illegal, that is its own situation, and I would agree that it should be banned from Steam. But these games we are talking about are legal, which is the problem. While we explicitly prohibit illegal activity on our network, we are equally committed to protecting legal commerce. If a transaction is legal, our policy is
but right there, they're saying that they would allow these to happen.
To process the transaction. We do not make moral judgments on legal purchases made by consumers.
Yes, you do.
This is a very strong statement. Visa claims they don't judge what people buy if it's legal. And if a purchase is legal, they process it. This sounds great. This is what you would assume a payment processor would do. But if you have been paying attention at all to the situation, you would know this is simply not true. From games to crypto, guns, anime, porn, even energy companies, and so much more. But back to Visa's statement. If they don't make moral judgments, what does that even mean? It means they claim they don't care if content is adult, violent, or controversial as long as it's legal. They say their job isn't to decide what's right or wrong morally.
I mean, that's what they should. That's what it should be, right?
Legal products. So they are saying one thing, but then doing the exact opposite. Visa continues in the email. Visa does not moderate content sold by merchants, nor do we have visibility into the specific goods or services sold when we process a transaction. This claim is also very clear. Visa says they don't look at the content being sold. Visa and MasterCard are intertwined in
So then that means that they can't even see the games people are buying. So they can't make those judgment calls. So I wonder how they're getting the data to be able to ban these games off of Steam.
Many businesses around the world, you can't actually expect them to go through every single one to review and moderate everything. Visa also says they don't see what's being sold when money moves. So if they don't see
they have to be able to see it.
How do they know if something is quote-unquote risky? Well, they rely on reports
nice shot, by the way, whoever this guy is.
Complaints from the public or even activist groups to flag a merchant as risky. So Visa won't look at every single game, But if a platform like Steam has a lot of content that's getting complaints, Visa can view the entire platform as a risk, which is how Collective Shout were able to get Visa and MasterCard to listen to them.
I like how the sign says "We hate gamers"
as this very bad place, asking them to demonstrate corporate social responsibility and immediately cease processing payments. But Visa continues in their email. When a legally operating merchant faces an elevated risk of illegal activity, we require enhanced safeguards for the bank supporting.
This is the problem, is that because of the and I kind of get where Visa's coming from, right? Because there's all these people shouting, they're saying, hey, we have to have heightened supervision right now. We have to like really look at this to make sure that we're not doing something illegal. So they're putting tons of pressure on Steam. Like I can see this happening in my mind, right? Just corporate America, emails going to executives, it funneling down, everyone feeling all this pressure to get all of the contraband content off the platform. I can just see it happening. They overdo it.
The last part is key. Visa says if a store has a high risk of illegal activity, they make the banks working with that store take extra steps to be safe. But notice they don't say the content is illegal, just that there's a risk of it. Visa claims that they do not make moral judgments on legal purchases.
Well, see, that's what's crazy, John, is Visa says that they don't actually know what you buy exactly. They said that. And then later they said, but if we get word that there's something fishy going on, we add safeguards. So it's almost like now they do have to know. Does that make sense? But you're right. Like I have no idea how Steam credits would work. Steam credits in theory would bypass this because the money comes from the bank and sits in Steam, and the product you bought is Steam points. And then Steam points later can be used to buy a porn game, right? I mean, I think that that would be a way to bypass this, but I bet you 99% of the time people are just directly buying it with their card, and so that's the issue. Is Visa feels like, oh, if these are bad games, right, or if these are somehow illegal, we need to shut this down, or we could be in trouble.
And do not moderate content. But let's compare that to what Valve and itch.io actually said about the recent changes. In classic Valve fashion, they were quiet on the issue.
Yeah, Valve never talks.
Information we have from them is the new.
I know that no one's going to like me saying this, but Valve is a monopoly. They are. They're a powerful, powerful monopoly.
Rule change and an official worded response they gave out to multiple different journalists. In their response, Valve hinted heavily that payment processors were threatening to cut them off. They stated they had to retire certain games because losing payment methods would prevent customers from buying any titles on Steam.
Yep.
This made it clear that Steam was now at the mercy
Steam's
of
getting flexed on. One monopoly getting flexed on by another monopoly.
To legal content. itch.io was
crazy.
Even more direct. They flat out stated they changed their rules because payment companies threatened to block all payments on their platform. So if Visa isn't making moral judgments or moderating content, why were these threats happening over legal material? Is Visa implying Steam and itch.io are lying? Well, the answer is in one.
You have to have a Visa.
Word,
I mean, it's like
Visa
the biggest company.
They require enhanced safeguards when there is an elevated risk of illegal activity. But risk is a broad term. Often, it's not actually about illegal content, but about anything that might generate bad press or public protests. This gives power to groups like Collective Shout. They sent numerous emails, made phone calls, and ran public campaigns, painting Steam and itch.io as risky.
Yeah, Epic Games has really tried to be a competitor to Steam. I think that they failed, but they are the solution, right? If they could build as good a platform as Steam, we should all want to do business with Epic Games over Steam. I know that people don't believe me, but Epic Games is a way less monopolistic. I mean, everything Epic Games has done since they got money with Fortnite has been to help developers and help gamers. I know some people don't love that they did exclusive games, which I totally get. But like in the grand scheme of things, right? They're suing Apple. They're having lawsuits to try to help the industry. John, you have 9 credit cards, 4 Visa, 5 MasterCards? Jesus Christ. Please tell me that they're all maxed out.
Places, urging these payment processors to cease business, which obviously led into them then pressuring Valve. These payment processors hold all this power because almost everyone uses their cards. So when they label a platform as risky, which often just means enough people complained, they can directly threaten that platform with losing access to their entire payment network. This also isn't just about Steam and itch.io either. We've seen similar problems in Japan, where businesses selling certain types of legal adult content have lost payment options from companies like Visa, often under the same risk umbrella. Even Visa's CEO in Japan has been vocally against adult content. This shows a clear pattern. Payment processors, despite their claims, directly influence what can be sold. If they decide a business is risky, even for legal content, they can effectively shut down that business's ability to operate. So this email from Visa is a clear example of a big company saying one thing, while their actions and the statements of the platforms they work with show something completely different. Now, it's also important to remember, as this video did have a focus on Visa, there are other payment processors involved as well. There are some reports from people calling MasterCard that issues have escalated to a higher department.
I think on Friday, John.
I've been getting calls about this all week. Whether MasterCard's higher department actually does something is a different question that we will just have to wait to see. While the exact behind-the-scene details of what happened between payment processors and Steam are unknown, one thing is clear. Visa claims of no moral judgments don't match reality. They use vague terms like risk to deflect responsibility while controlling what content is bought and sold. This situation makes one thing very clear. Payment companies like Visa and MasterCard have huge unchecked power. They shouldn't be allowed to dictate what legal content can be bought or sold online simply by labeling it risky. Because what really is risky? This unchecked power must be challenged. Payment processors, with their monopoly on transactions,
and they do have a
as
monopoly,
essential services like electricity or water, they should be forced to provide fair access to all legal purchases. This is something hopefully we see happen in the future. That's why collective action is so important. From calling and emailing Visa and MasterCard directly to supporting policies like the Fair Access to Banking Act, gamers are making their voices heard. They're now telling elected officials that these powerful companies are overstepping by blocking legal purchases. There are petitions already with over 100,000 signatures, and I'm sure it will only grow as gamers start to realize how bad this problem really is. So what do you think about Visa's email? Do you think Steam and itch.io removed tens of thousands of games just because they wanted to, and then blamed it on payment processors for no reason? One thing is clear. Gamers aren't accepting this response, and they want payment processors to stop deciding what content can be sold.
All right, boys, we got to wrap the news. That's what we do here. All right. So thank you, Water CS2. It's time, I guess, for Jon Stewart. No, it is time. We have to rap about this. Steam versus Visa. All right, yo, this is our reaction to Steam versus Visa. Steam wants to sell us games with corn, but you know what? That is just not the norm. Visa has decided that we cannot play. With an erection, they ruined our day. I want my cash to flow to the honeys, but you know that Visa is like the Easter bunny, but they still in eggs, and you know what that begs? The question why they are not rolling out the kegs. My wallet is in Warzone, I'm buying skins, but everyone knows that I am going in. I cannot buy any indie title. That is because Visa's power is unbridled. They are terrorizing, their power is rising. I just want to play games, I am summarizing. But right now the community needs to rally strong and tell Visa that what they're doing is wrong.